All right, it's October 16th, 2018, at 6 o'clock. We're going to have a meeting of the Capital Improvement Committee. First order of business is pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Fine. So you guys, everybody should have the minutes from our last meeting. If you guys take a look at those, is there, anyone would like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Okay. Is there any changes to the minutes? What do you need a minute to look at the minutes? Set? Paul, all set?
I'm fine.
Everybody all set?
Yes.
All right. All in favor of accepting the minutes of the last meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. So we will open our public hearing at 6:03. First order would be the police department. Chief? So we have we discussed this a little bit last time, Ford F-150 in the amount of $50,681. Chief wrote us a little note explaining some of the things he needed there, so I'm also going to give him the floor. And
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the time. Appreciate the opportunity to come here. Everybody has the quote, I assume, that was sent to you. Yeah, what a little background on it. We've finished up the purchases under our debt exclusion vote that we had from a couple of years ago. So we had 3 vehicles that were purchased. They were purchased over the last 3 years. So that money is now exhausted. I had had a discussion with the administrator about if we want to continue it for this year, and the opinion was, well, especially when the override is going through, maybe we should give it a break and, you know, pursue it in the future, which I agree with, just with the understanding that we could try to get a vehicle replaced again this year as it comes up. So as we were looking into the process of vehicles to replace, the Ford Explorers that we've been getting have been serving us very well. They're actually making modifications to those vehicles in this coming year. So that was one of the things that's changing in that model. The second thing is they're discontinuing the Ford Taurus. That was the patrol vehicle that they had for a period of time. So we were actually looking into, at one point, purchasing a pickup truck for use. It's very similar price, as you can see, because the SUVs are going to be going up a little bit more. They're probably going to be around $48,000, so this is about $50,000. They're right around the same price as the other vehicles. But we felt at this point we do a lot of use with it, towing our speed trailers, moving around barricades, cones, other heavy objects that we use, especially when we do our firearms training, moving back and forth, the different equipment for that and everything else like that. So we would have use for it. The vehicle itself is it's got a V6 EcoBoost engine, so it's relatively fuel efficient. I believe overall it's about a 20 miles per gallon fuel rating on it. It's got the crew cab in it, so we would equip it with a cage so it can be used for patrol purposes and everything. It's built with a pursuit-rated model and everything else of that nature. So most of the equipment is standard that comes with it. There's really not a lot of bells and whistles that are going with it. That was one of the things, too, that we had asked about with the remodel of the Ford Explorer. Generally, what we had done to save money was we were able to transfer some of the equipment from one vehicle to another. And Ford, in its infinite insanity at some point, and is going to remodel some of those things where a lot of the equipment won't fit. So we're not sure, you know, when we get a new one of that, what'll fit and what'll transfer over. That was the hope that we could do that. But a lot of this equipment is still basic and standard with it. So you have the quote for the price. I think I was checking today too about we have our cruiser revolving fund. So for the new members that are here, we bill for details when we use police cruisers, primarily when we use them at the college. We bill a percentage to the vendor, and they pay us back for a cruiser fee. And that account right now has a little over $6,000 in it. So what I could recommend to the committee is, if you're looking to save some money, if you could allocate around even $45,000, I think we could make it work and get that done to be able to lower the price on this and reduce the impact. it is important to replace this vehicle, or a vehicle, because we finally worked up to a point where we're on a schedule to replace them. These are not your typical average vehicle that can get 100,000 miles and be fine. They get a lot of hours and hardware and use on it. And so if we can replace them, generally the rotation goes about 6 to 7 years. That's about the time they start hitting the 100,000 mile mark and getting a little bit over. So we're able to kind of work those through. But we just got rid of one of our last ones last year, which the fire department almost took from us, but the frame rotted. That was a 2003, so 15 years was a little bit long to be using a car. But I think if we keep on that cycle of replacing one a year, we're in pretty good shape. So I'll answer any questions that you have or go through things.
Chief, what vehicle is this replacing?
At this point, I am not totally certain because we're going to look at which one it is. I think it's going to be our Cruiser 545, one of our Explorers, but I'd have to double check which one it is. Because usually what we'll do is we do an assessment on them because the way this will work is we will order this probably, if it's approved, we'll order it December or right around the first of the year. We won't take delivery of it till July. So we're going to look at it and see which vehicle we think can last us longer. And then we see if we rotate something down to an unmarked or to a spare vehicle and see how we rotate them. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think one of our SUVs, I think Cruiser 545 will probably rotate it out.
What's the trade-in value for something like that?
That there,
I'm saying
yeah.
this, excuse me, to avoid having the 2003 out there. I appreciate everybody in the town of Dudley looking to not throw away something that might have another year or two in it. Police duty is much different than inspectional services or something like that. Now we have a small collection of things, and my thought right now is we're gonna have an auction and sell it for $250. That seems like a small amount of money for the town administrator's 3 or 4 days worth of effort. So an estimated trade-in value or something like that?
yeah, it depends. I have to look at it what it is for the SUVs. I know for the cars, the big problem with those was after they got over a certain number of years, like if it was 5 years or 6 years, they were only worth a couple $100. So that's where you looked at it and said at a point, well, you know, do you maybe want to try to auction it and maybe get $800 or $1,000 for it, or you do want to try to just trade it in and be done with it? So it depends what vehicle we actually would go to trade, and we'd find out what they would give for us. And then also too, like I said, we'd give one to the fire department. Why they didn't want the rotted frame 2003 vehicles beyond me. But we'll rotate vehicles out. Just like my old SUV was used by the town for a long time. That's one of the gray ones sitting out there. So that was used by the assessor's office and as another utility vehicle. We had another forfeiture vehicle that was still in use at times. So if there's use for it in the town, we will gladly turn it over to someone to use, or otherwise we'll find out whatever the best value is. And at that point too, that will also help if it's traded in and a few $1,000s come in for it. It'll help to reduce the cost that's needed.
And it's black and white, all black?
We usually mark them up the same way as everything else is, to keep it all similar. Yeah, so they'll come in, I believe that the standard color they come in is either white or black, and so then it's marked up from there. All the markings on it now are decals, so nothing's painted onto the vehicle. So it makes it a lot easier when you go to sell it off or trade it or whatever you do with it. You can just remove everything and it's stripped down.
Chief, now that you're transitioning from a cruiser to a utility vehicle, basically, you're going to lose the ability to have one additional cruiser in your rotation for patrols. Are you concerned about that long-term, or?
No, because this one will be able to be used for patrol.
Okay.
Because it's going to have, we're intending to put a cage in it and everything else like that, and have, it's, again, a 4-door, so it's something that can be, you know, more useful again. So we're still intending to use it as a patrol vehicle.
Okay.
Might not be a full-time patrol vehicle, but it's going to be able to be used for that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Real quick, do we have an estimated rotation time for pickups? Do you know how long they last? If you can use them for patrol plus trailers and...
Are you talking, I don't understand, are you talking duration of how long we'd be able to use them for, or? It varies, it depends, again, how much use they get. I would assume this one is gonna get used regular, but I don't think it's gonna be used as much as the regular patrol vehicles are.
Okay.
So I think you'll get more life out of it. Good thing is I credit Officer Dave Carpenter and Arthur Ferrera that they're meticulous with these vehicles as they go through, so they're getting regular oil changes and full maintenance, and they've saved us a lot of money on times, even what was happening with some of the cars was they would give you a 100,000-mile warranty, and lo and behold, at about 60 or 80,000 miles, your transmission would go. And so we were fortunate to kind of, as long as we maintained a lot of the records and things like that, we were able to get those done. Because they had actually, you see on this one, is a 100,000-mile warranty. Ford had at one point dropped it down to 60,000 miles. And that was, again, right around the time everything started going to 60,000 miles. You'd lose an engine at 65,000 or something like that. And so they did work with us in ways, but the good thing was that we had a good regular maintenance program on these vehicles that we were able to save a lot of money in repairs.
Okay. So then, what's that for? Okay. So,
Lisa's got a question for me, too?
no,
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming then,
Proud.
once you get the pickup and it works out, you're gonna, in the future, keep looking to replace and get another pickup and,
I don't foresee us doing that. I wouldn't foresee us going and get another pickup truck at this point. Only because I think the way we're trying to do it is make the fleet most useful, and we'll look and see what happens.
okay.
The reason why I thought it was good at this point was price-wise, it was very similar to the other vehicles. Second of all, with the changing in styles of the other cars, I've always been leery of a first year of a vehicle. I don't know if anybody's bought any vehicles that was the first time they came out. You always have bugs in them, and that's the same thing we found when they went from the old Crown Vics to the patrol vehicles that came out. The first year or two, they were not the greatest, and you had more problems with them as they went through. So we kind of looked at it and said, well, we're going to have to buy all new equipment anyway if we get a brand-new SUV, because we're going to have to, a lot of the stuff might not be compatible. We're not sure what the models and everything are going to run with as far as bug-wise. So it's a good time to bring something like this in if we're thinking about doing it. And the other thing we found out was, I mean, we've got speed trailers and things that we put out around town. We're going to have to install a tow package in some of our other SUV vehicles, because the one that we had, I think we traded that one in, the one that we had a tow package on. So even to deploy these vehicles, we've been using, some of our officers have been using their own personal trucks to hook them up and tow them out there, because we don't have the ability to do that. So it's just one of those things where it's useful. We found out, especially things like the tornado or storms or anything else that happen, you got to go deploy barricades and things. Even though you have an SUV, a lot of that stuff is the space in the back is occupied with equipment and radios and boxes and everything else. So you've got some space to do things, but you don't have a lot of room in there to move around objects. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Probably for you. There was a plan in place to replace these vehicles on a rotating basis already, correct?
Well, we've been trying as a town to replace a cruiser, I think, once a year.
So this is the once a year
Yeah, this
cruiser
was
replacement essentially?
3 years ago, we were able to pass a small debt exclusion. And it was enough to buy a car each year for 3 years. So, and that's run out this past budget.
So those 3 vehicles are already purchased?
Yeah, we
okay.
just bought those over a 3-year span.
Yeah, so we're trying to replace one per year. That's kind of the rotation we're on. This particular truck doesn't seem all that much more than the vehicles you've been buying. I mean, certainly would rather have an F-150 than an SUV.
Yeah, I think the thing is too, if you get to that point where it gets to be that's one's turning a rotation, that I'm sure would be a lot more valuable to somebody in the town,
Right.
be it fire or highway or
Yeah, to use down the
anybody
road,
else like
too.
that, or even, buildings and grounds, or somebody might be able to have better use for that vehicle once it gets around 80, 90,000 miles than just a regular, patrol car.
Any other questions? And Chief, you know that we, capital improvement doesn't have a budget. We don't have our own budget to buy stuff, so it's whatever, if we approve it, if we don't approve it, it's always up to the selectmen to
Absolutely.
spend the money they want. We always encourage them to purchase a new cruiser every year. Hopefully, we can go back to what you did before, but,
Yeah, I think that plan worked good, and I think that's a good,
Yeah.
that'd actually be a good plan, and honestly, just as a little sidebar, it'd be a good plan for the town, if you figured out a certain amount of money, because there's certain vehicles in the fire end, the highway end, you always have to replace things each year, and we seem to be doing the same thing now. You always rely on free cash, but then free cash comes up, and now you have commitments for those things, and you hate to take away from somebody to do something else when you need to replace this equipment, so it's a good opportunity to get that going, and it was not overly burdensome, I think, on the taxpayers, and they're getting, at least they know what they're getting for their money's worth.
so if we do approve this, the F-150, it does not necessarily mean that the town's gonna buy it, this time around. But once we do approve it, As long as the chief doesn't, change to another vehicle, this would be going forward if we're able to buy it. So it'll already be approved, unless there's a price change or anything like that.
Yeah, that works.
Also, the 50,681, that's the number we would have to approve on this, regardless of whether there's money in the police cruiser funds or there's a trade-in or anything like that. We should approve the entire amount for the purchase, and then where the money comes from is after the fact, so. All right, any other questions, Don?
Do we have to make a notice of any monies that they will try to add in?
No. As long as, if we approve it, it's the total amount, and any monies that come to offset that's.
Right. But if we don't make a list of the money that could be used to offset it, they don't have.
That's not our, that's not our, it's, should we buy this vehicle along with whatever else is on there, in whatever combination? The funding is the FAA and ultimately the selectmen.
All
All right, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Go Sox.
With unanimous consent, maybe we should skip number 2, considering we have,
Well, let's go back to number one.
we-
Does anybody want to make a motion to approve or not approve this amount?
I'd love to hear everybody's speech, and then
And go, all
we'd
right.
go through.
So we'll come back to the police vehicle, hold the vote. What were you saying about the, you wanna
We'll do
move?
Lisaberg at the end,
We can do that.
considering we have people waiting.
Sure. All right, so we'll move to the highway department then.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, interim
I'm
superintendent.
Vinnie Paletta, and I'm the temporary superintendent. This pickup truck is the one that I guess was questioned, and the only one that was questioned? I'm not even sure of that right now.
So this is the heavy-duty dump truck.
Correct.
So basically, the committee has already approved this dump truck, heavy-duty dump truck, obviously at a different price range.
Yep.
At 67.5. It also approved the F-150, or the F-350. Is that what it is?
I think there's an F-350 for buildings and grounds.
Right, the
Which I
F-
don't have any paperwork on, and this is an F-550 for the highway department.
So we got it all. Yeah, the buildings and grounds truck was the light-duty one-ton dump truck. And we had approved that, and that's been approved originally about 2 years ago now going
Yeah,
on.
well, I heard the same story about this one. This one was approved in 2015.
Right. So, so we got these two trucks. So you're up to now 75.3 on the dump truck, on the heavy-duty dump truck? Is that what you came up with the plow?
Yes. Yes.
So this is an updated version. We don't know what it was for the buildings and grounds truck?
I didn't gather that information because I thought that was a done deal. I apologize for that.
So we had approved, what do we,
49.5 plus the,
yeah, it was 49.5 that we approved it for.
and then the plow makes it 55,375.
That would be the light-duty plow for the buildings and grounds.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll put it to you all. Again, we don't have a budget, so we can approve all we want, but we can't, we don't have the authority to buy these things. Only the selectmen do. Dudley's always in a fiscal constraint, I can
Yep.
say. Out of these two vehicles, you're taking over, so what would you think is, how would you list the priority on either one of these trucks?
I would, probably the same for both departments because they're not like interactive.
Right.
I can speak for the one on the highway department more than buildings and grounds. Like I said, I'm just starting this job, so But the one for the highway department is a very important truck. It's out there a lot. And,
I mean, you got winter coming up and.
yeah, and it's been breaking a lot. It's costing a fortune to keep that truck up and running, several $1,000s a year. And the chief had mentioned, usually when a first model year comes out, you'll have a lot of problems with it. Well, the truck this one's replacing was the first model year, and it's been a disaster.
Well,
I think we already paid for a new truck already, and we still have that old one.
That's a
So-
terrible business model.
So basically, we have dump truck, we already discussed this one. We just got a higher price, that's all. So.
I like to say just two things on a higher price. Two of the biggest jumps in the price with this new model year, the 2019 Ford, he has a heavy GVW package. I guess the newer ones last year and the year before, they've been having problems with them, so they came up with this brand new package to bring the GVW up to 19.5, and that's like a $1,250 option. And he said definitely get that. He says after a few years, he says you're gonna definitely need that. And the other was around $1,000. Where is it? Oh, it's $920. It's power windows, power door locks, and heated exterior mirrors. Unfortunately, you gotta get all three of them for that one option. We would only need the exterior heated mirrors, but that was almost $1,000 increase from the sheet before this sheet.
Anybody have any questions?
What happens to the white buildings and grounds truck that they use right now?
I don't know.
Adding to the fleet, we haven't, there's two guys. That's why I'm asking.
What would you like to see happen? I mean, they both have a use.
They do. You don't want to take a one-ton dump 35 miles away to get a part for something.
I don't think the pickup truck they're using now is worn out yet. I don't think. I know our our 550 is worn out, and I don't know what you would recommend to do with it. You'd get rid of it.
Just asking.
They offered $250 for it, so the chief was right on that too. It's $250.
Give you three for it.
If you wanted to, do you make the recommendation on how to dispose of the truck, the capital improvements?
Maybe the finance committee, maybe the selectmen.
Okay, I'm new at this, so I ask a lot of questions.
Would that not be the department head that makes the recommendation, or?
Ultimately, it's Greg. Greg, if Greg is the chief procurement officer, he would be the one to dispose of something. He would note it as being surplus, of course, with the superintendent's okay, and then dispose of it, or would say this still has X amount of years and life left in it, and reassign it. So ultimately, it's Greg's call.
And like I said, I understand this has been approved by capital improvements for a bunch of years now, but just never came up with the funding, I guess.
Good.
So 55,375 was the buildings and grounds truck.
Yep.
So I'll leave it up to you guys if somebody wants to make a motion to
Do them all
change.
at once, or-
If you want it, we can.
We'll do it all. We'll have
So
our
we got
discussion.
75,3 and 55,375.
Was the 55-3 already approved? Because that's not on the agenda tonight.
No,
49.
49.5 was on the agenda, it's just not written in,
Okay.
so,
See from our last minutes.
okay.
Good, thank you.
That's it, all right. So, you wanna do Lisa later, you wanna do the,
Do the animal control, do it right
okay,
in order.
so we'll have the animal control come up. Hello. So it looks like you went to Place Motors.
I actually went to two different places. I went to Place Motors,
Yeah.
talked to Stephen Place himself.
Yeah.
And then I also went to the Ford dealership, Imperial in Mendon.
Yeah.
And got a quote through them as well, and it was approximately $5,000 more.
An Imperial, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So has this got everything you need to do what you need to do, or?
100%.
Okay.
The only thing that's not in here is the back seat isn't that plastic, but I'm not even worried about that right at this very moment.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Jen on this?
So the few more dollars to go with this as far as buying a new cage that would fit the back? Or,
Yes, but I'm not even worried about that right at this very moment. I just need a vehicle, and then I can deal with that down the road.
So this is fine for heat and stuff, for anything?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. All right.
I don't need to crack the windows for AC.
Okay.
We're good.
Jen, the four-door, that's a crew cab, that's a true four-door, right?
It's a
Not the
true four-door,
extended.
correct.
There is
It's a
AC
true
in this,
four-door.
right? There's air conditioning in this.
Yes, I know.
All right.
I was joking.
Okay. Whoa. Okay. Any questions? Any other questions for Jen?
At our last meeting, we talked about a used vehicle.
Right.
Correct.
That you guys were gonna be looking at. What happened to that?
If Greg was here, he can probably let you know what was happening with that. I don't know what's out there for used vehicles. I did speak to Mr. Place himself at Place Motors, and they currently have nothing used that could even come this way. I did ask, but
So Jen, I know we talked about that pickup truck that water and sewer, was it water department has?
I believe so.
2,000. What do you think about that truck being modified if we have to get something quick? In other words, if this, obviously, we don't have a budget again.
Right.
So we can approve this all we want, but we can't buy, we're not necessarily can buy this, so, if, to get you by with a truck like that, with some modifications, would that be able to get you by until we can get,
Until when?
well, that's,
Because I don't want, I mean, I've already had two hand-me-down
Right.
vehicles that I have to keep, they keep breaking down and everything else, so it's constantly in the shop.
Right.
So at that point, a new vehicle will literally, I'll have
it's what
it
you
for a
need.
very
It's what
long
you need.
time.
We should have it as a town, we should have
Exactly.
a vehicle for that.
Exactly.
Just wanted your feelings on if this isn't possible, based on fiscal constraints. You talk at all with Greg about another truck from another department that's possible to be retrofitted,
I haven't really.
even if it's temporary?
Temporary's fine because something is better than nothing at this very moment because I literally have no vehicle to do my job. But as far as a new vehicle, I mean, it's gonna last me 10+ years to do my job, as long as it's maintained and everything else. So, if there is a spare that I could use for the time being to start getting my barn inspections done, because I'm behind on that now, and actually physically doing some other animal calls, then I would use it for the time being, but it's not what I'm looking for the long run.
Okay. Any other questions for Jen? No? All right.
Good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You guys all have this?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so we'll go water and sewer.
Good afternoon. We got a quote for that camera. Matter of fact, Michelle. They have a, so they have this here.
A nice picture on there.
Looks pretty
At
good.
least I know what it is now.
Looks good up close.
Yeah.
Stick it in the pipe, it looks pretty small. We have the updated price, okay, with a discount. And we've got it to 73. Don't have my glasses, 580. Right now, that is adequate for what they need. It's multi-purpose. I think it's a revamp model. I think the older one that was priced out is not available anymore, but I'm not sure of that. The sewer department right now has been doing a darn good job for what they have, and it's time to start getting up to the 21st century a little bit. I've been doing it with them. I've seen what they go through. and it's getting unbearable for some of the ways they have to get down in some of these mains, which are very deep. With the new INI, like I said, it's time to start thinking about getting them their camera so they can do the work they need to do. We've pretty much exhausted a lot of our ability to fix the other one. We're constantly fixing it. It's constantly breaking down, and the cost of it's just not weighing right to do it anymore. So we'd like to be able to purchase this and also assist us with that upcoming INI problem. And we'll be doing a lot of cameraing of a lot of pipes in the future. And this will give them the ability to do a very good job and make it easier for them to do it. So I'd like to approve on that.
Question?
Paul?
George, the existing camera system, what age is that? How old is that?
Oh, God, Paul, I couldn't tell you. It's
Do
very
you
old.
expect to get the same length of service from the new camera?
And even more if possible, absolutely, yeah. The camera is very old, and the parts, I think, are very hard to even come by now.
So we're
That's
looking
a-
at 10 years, 20 years?
20 years, I think, or more, yeah, yeah. Some, just like the trucks. They're very, very, very old.
This is Dudley, we don't
Yeah.
get rid of anything until it's used.
We're trying, with the new requirements coming out, like we keep repeating and all that, things are getting more and more difficult, and a lot more duties are being performed to try to get certain jobs done, and you can't do it without the proper equipment. Otherwise, we're hiring out contractors with equipment to do it and come in, and it's costing even more money. So we have to start thinking about the needs of us and let the guys do what they need to do. They've been doing a super job doing what they can do. I'm surprised we've gotten this far for certain projects to do. Same on the water side. It's getting monotonous and trying to keep up with things. We just had a main break yesterday, and like I said, everybody worked together. The sewer came in to help us, and it was a team effort. And if it wasn't for that, the water wouldn't have been on in 4 hours. It would have been on a lot longer. So we're doing a lot of good stuff.
Rich?
For clarification, this is a sewer camera.
Right.
This doesn't help you with any water breaks.
Well, you're not gonna put a pipe that's, camera that's been on
Yeah.
down a sewer main into a water pipe.
Yeah.
I understand that. So for the water department, what do they use for leak detection or anything else like that?
We have a leak detector system. What we have, it's not an advanced system. It can pick up something on the headphones as you go along with a wand in the ground. Can pick up some water sounds. But we hire a company, a small company comes in every year per our DEP regulations to do a townwide detection, leak detection, and they go around town. They listen on the hydrants, and it zeroes them in on a certain area, and then they take that area and they zero it in even closer, and then they call us in, and we'll do a turn-off activation type thing, so that it helps them to see if it's a service leak or if it's a main starting to go or something to that effect. Kind of a different scenario, since the pipes are under pressure for water.
Right, so what I'm getting at is, this is something that you can do, sewer department, internally to save money. For the water department, it almost needs to be farmed out, other than a few of your rudimentary listening devices.
Yeah, I mean, even certain pipe, if the pipe's a 6-inch, whether it be water, if there's not under pressure underwater, sure we could use that camera. Same with larger drainage, if we can send it through the drainage. I'm not an expert on it, the sewer department is, but I'm sure we can use it a little bit more versatile than just for sewer. If we have to get into something where we have to locate a problem and it's accessible to get in with the camera, absolutely. The camera does a fantastic job. I've seen the newer ones, how they work. There's a demonstration. They really give a nice, clear, concise picture of what's in the pipes and what you see as you're going along. It can find us laterals, and it can save us a lot of digging problems. If we have to go look for something, it can tell us just by measuring out with the measurements where exactly the problem is located, just by the picture and by where it's located.
If you were to hire somebody to do this kind of maintenance that you're gonna be doing with this.
I just signed a voucher while I was sitting here waiting, for a company came in to camera Sanger Road, the old Boy Scout Club Road. A very short run, cost $200. What we're asking to spend on the camera here, I just did the quick math, that's about $365, at that rate. A longer run, more time is gonna cost more. It's just based on, on the amount of time they spend out here. and we can do it ourselves.
We go around and camera the entire town, and I'm talking full days. And if you have a contractor coming in to do that, you're talking megabucks.
Right. exactly.
So, and if we can't.
Pay
we-
for itself.
Yeah, it definitely pays for itself, twofold, absolutely.
Any other questions? Rich?
Do this for 8, 9 months out of the year?
As much as we possibly can for allowing for the conditions, the weather and things like that, absolutely, as much
Just
as we
don't
could.
freeze. So.
Yeah,
And this is also out of retained earnings. It's not a general budget request.
That's what I was gonna mention, is, this isn't free cash or
No.
borrowing or appropriate. It's,
And sewer right
out
now
of your
has
retained earnings, so.
460, 450, 460, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So
we're very frugal with the money, but then again, we have to start being frugal for the guys too. It's just coming to
time
that
to
point now.
upgrade some equipment.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Go ahead. Maggie?
Something like this must have a pretty decent warranty backing it.
There is a warranty on it. I can't tell you exactly what it is. I was talking to Mike, and that was one question I had, and I forgot it when we were getting into some other discussion, but there is a warranty on it, yes.
I didn't see anything in the paperwork that you provided on a
Yeah,
warranty.
Yeah, they do have warranties on them. He had mentioned it to me, but I wasn't sure exactly what the duration is. They're very limited. They get limited on warranties in some of the equipment because of the way you use it and stuff, so they're very
From a
careful.
mechanical perspective.
Yeah. Could be certain parts and things like that, I believe warranty. Could be up to a year or so, 6 months to a year.
Mr. Chair, is there an option for extended warranty?
Yeah, I believe so, Paul. I believe there is. I haven't talked to the salesman myself on that. I was asking Mike some questions on it, but I didn't get a full-fledged discussion on things like that. But yeah, I would believe you could get something extra.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Lisa Berg, so, just got a note from Lisa, she's asking for 26 to cover the basically first year of the service. So we're not gonna have a server, I think, right? Is that how that's gonna work? No server, it's gonna be all up on the cloud?
Right.
So we gotta pay for that service. So she's asking for 26 instead of the 20.
So the difference in cost is just the storage in the cloud?
Yeah. It's the 1 year payment.
Okay.
That's the third. Here's the quote for paying to be on the cloud. The only other option would be your own server, which Debbie believes would be 11,000. The cloud would be 6,000 per year and would include future upgrades and backups. So that's an email.
So she's saying, once we purchase this new software, any future upgrade is included in this 20,000.
with the cloud purchase.
Do you then just have to stay with the cloud, or can you bring it back to a local server?
Hold on. The way I'm reading it is we're buying the 2018 or 2019 version of a vision appraisal. 6,000 every year buys us cloud storage, and the future upgrades and backups are on the cloud,
Yeah.
not vision.
Not just the vision.
Right.
But I'm talking about, so just upgrades on the cloud, not the service itself.
This is, I think,
So if they decide in 3 years that Vision wants to do another version of their thing, then they're not gonna back this version up anymore, we could be bagged for another 20 grand.
yes.
Probably not in 3 years, but in a handful of years, it could potentially.
Yep.
But we don't have a choice because they're not supporting the version we're on now.
Right. This is a little line.
And she did say that staying with Vision was far more economical than looking elsewhere, correct?
It looks like it's priced in tiers as well. How many parcels do we have in Dudley?
4,400 parcels, 4,500, somewhere in that range.
Just just be interested in how how those tiers play out. Could we go with a lower tier based
they-
on what we have?
They gave us $1,000 discount based on her question.
Just watching 5,000.
5,000 parcels.
It says.
So that's the
1,000
best we can do then, because the tier that he gave, or that she was given was for 5,000. So $6,000.
Because the normal price for that is $7,000, you'd be getting an annual $1,000 savings.
So,
Otherwise, we have to pay for the extra upgrades and $11,000 for a server.
Which pays for itself in 2 years, server.
And the presumption of the third year would easily be any upgrades and backups for it.
Correct.
Well, if we got 5 years out of it, 6 years out of it, 3,600 versus 11,000, 36,000 versus 11,000, we'd be 25,000 to the good if we bought our own server.
How long has the current version of Vision that they're supporting now been in place?
Ancient.
Right. So it's
So I'm
reasonable to believe that they could support this version for 20 years. We could be stuck with a $6,000
Lisa's
a year.
texting while we're watching. Yeah. Can you read that? 5,000 was how many parcels in town?
600 first year,
That was the
6,000
answer.
a year. 6,000. Includes the upgrades, 6,000.
Pretty efficient. If she believes that's the
Of
best.
course, upgrades usually options, right?
I mean, I'm familiar with the software. because I
Upgrades
use
usually
it.
options that they add into the software.
No. Take a step back. I believe we are buying this version of Vision, which is an upgrade from 5 or 10 years ago. The upgrades that I think they're talking about are the backups for the cloud.
Just the cloud, not the
Just the
Vision,
cloud.
not the
So
software.
for all the protection, efficiency, we're going from Office, we're at 10, 7, whatever she's got. If you improve the computer that's at her desk, there's going to be communications. So that's what I'm thinking the upgrades are.
I think the server is a better way to go then.
I'll be out of.
It's up to you guys.
Because that way we control the information, we control the backups, we control the issues.
Yeah.
And after 2 years, we don't have to worry about this 6,000 because we've already saved.
So then, the servers cost us 11, basically, up front, instead of this.
Who maintains town servers?
Thibodeau.
I was gonna say.
We have
do you-
somebody here, like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think it'd be prudent to speak with her before we actually make a
She's an ex
decision?
officio member of the board. I
supposed to be
figured
here.
she would have included her wishes here, just so that we wouldn't have gone on an assumption.
Right.
And if,
So,
it would be valuable to know what's required to maintain our own, because you'd imagine we'd have to upgrade what we had, and there would be an assignment of time for her to do it.
Sure.
Deb's thought is that the cloud was the best way to go, but $6,000 a year
6,000.
going,
I,
you know what?
I think she's paid 6,000 a year just to be the MIS director, so that's, if you put that into comparison, that's a substantial amount of
So,
money.
the other option then here is, obviously we need this. So we know it costs $20,000, the server's 11, so we're talking $31,000. If we approve it at $31,000 to buy the server, then it's up to the selectmen and Greg to get together and find out whether or not they wanna go and put a $6,000 into the budget, or they wanna go with the server. But
think
at
that-
least,
I think that was very well put.
at least we cover the server if we go that route,
Yeah.
if we approve it. So, that's how I would do it, is change the amount to 31. Go with this. Because that will cover the 6 anyway, if they decide to go with the cloud.
Sure. Yeah.
So, does anybody want a motion that we go to 31,000 on this?
I
or
thought we were gonna close the public hearing, then make our votes.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
I forgot you wanted to skip all that.
Bird dog here or anything.
All right, okay. All right, so let me just change this here. All right, so any other questions on this, on the vision appraisal? All right. Okay, so that's it. Is there any other miscellaneous items? All right, so then we'll close the public hearing at 6:47. All right, so, so let's bring these up one at a time. Do we need to vacate the room here, or?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Be done in 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Police Department, we have a F-150 truck, 50,681. Chief made a pretty good argument as to why he needs it. We are replacing, this is gonna be the replacement car, his next replacement car, so.
I love the idea. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Approve for 50,681.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this before we go on? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, vision appraisal,
I would make a motion for $31,000 to purchase the updated version of the vision appraisal software and to purchase the necessary server for 11,000, for a total of 20,000, 11,000, for 31,000 in total.
I second.
any more discussion on that one? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, so 31. All right. Highway Department, so we got an updated, cost, in an estimate sheet that he gave us, 75.3 it comes up to, versus the 67.5 that we originally approved. So we have additional money added to this. This truck's already been approved once, twice actually.
We'll
So-
go with the upgrade and the plow. I'll make the motion. Someone else can make a motion here too, you know. Maggie, you make the motion.
I'll second your motion.
So 75.3 is.
75.3, which includes the model upgrade and the plow as presented.
Did we have a second on that?
I'll second.
I second it.
Second, okay. Any other discussion on that one? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? I'm gonna include the, I know it's not on this agenda, but the buildings and grounds truck, which had already been approved. He said the amount was 55,375 was the total amount, so,
Including the plow.
including the plow, so does anybody want a motion that we up the
That one
price?
was
I'll
another
make a
prior
motion that-
approval, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That we increase the price to the 55,375.
Okay. Any second on that?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on that one? And again, he's gonna have to make that argument to selectmen which one he wants. on that. So 55,375. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, the animal control truck. So we have a request of 33,875.
I think it's too much. I'll say it.
But I'm thinking if we had a maximum, they could find something a lot cheaper, at least we'd be covered.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure if something like this would be able to see the light of day going into this budget, with
I mean,
not cash restraints.
The idea of a used excess vehicle from a separate department is a nice little stopgap, but That's not gonna be a
It's
very
not gonna
long
be
period of time
permanent,
before
right.
you're
It's not
back
gonna
in
be
the same
permanent.
situation, so I understand you're looking at the total dollars, but what's the alternative?
Well, speaking with, I've spoke with Greg a little bit on this. He'd like to stay used somewhere under 20. So.
Then it's not us.
Right. So that has nothing to do with us. So that's where he wants to be with the animal control truck. It may not be brand new right now. Maybe something that we get used and use it up a little bit and then move it on to another department and get, when we have good funds to buy a truck like that, we would go with that, but, you know, or, you know, convert the pickup truck from the building, from the water and sewer department, right? The, 2008, is it? Was it the old, I mean, 03? The 03 pickup truck, let her use that for a little while until we can, go forward with buying a brand new truck, so. It's up to you guys, if you know, you wanna approve a brand new truck for animal control, that's up to you. I don't think it's gonna make it.
I'd like to offer that
Okay.
we should buy this.
Right.
And when the FAA, town administrator, and the selectmen sort the budget out, and they say, we can't do it, then it's up to them to go through and get the Band-Aid that says, this gets our employee 6 months of a reliable vehicle.
Besides, if this comes back, it may not be the same price anyway, so it would have to come back in front of us if they.
Well, I'm thinking if we approve it and they don't fund it, then they need to address it. And if he's got a solution for under 20,000, it wouldn't be to us, and we could always rescind the vote in 6 months or.
So rather than deferring this, you wanna approve?
I think we should approve it.
So then I'll make a motion that we do approve it at the 33,875.
I'll second.
Any more discussion on the animal control truck?
Does it not save the selectmen's time and effort if we, I mean, if we
Well-
approve it, then they have to vet it out. If we don't approve it, then we save them the time of even vetting it out. No?
Yeah, but
But if we don't approve it,
then there's nothing they can do,
Well-
if they decide to, right?
right, this
Then
gives them an
They couldn't even
option.
give them give her like a truck.
Right.
Because obviously she needs a vehicle. I don't dispute that whatsoever. I think she needs a vehicle, obviously, to do her job.
Yeah, so it'll be up to them to decide how to get
Okay.
her a vehicle anyway. But if you wanna approve it, then if somebody wins the Mega Millions and donates the money, we may be able to buy it, so. Right, so.
I'll buy it if I win the Mega Millions.
Okay, so does anybody wanna make a motion to approve that truck? For 33, oh, you already did, all right. So was there a second?
Yep, there were many seconds.
Many seconds, okay.
Sorry, it's my fault.
Okay, all right, is there any more discussion on this? All right, all in favor to approve a truck for animal control?
All right,
All against?
Took everybody's focus away.
Yeah.
So the last is, the camera. Yes. Is that all we got left?
Yep.
So, you made a very good, argument why we need this. It's gonna save us some money over the course of years. Remember this, this doesn't come out of free cash or borrowing or anything like this. This comes out of retained earnings, so they need it.
I make a motion that we approve the 71,397.42 for the camera.
We have an updated dollar amount.
Updated.
I'm seeing 73,580.49, 1 day of training for 1,000, shipping for 500, and there was mention of a warranty,
Extended would be nice.
extended
yeah.
warranty. So 75,081 is what it is now. Do we add $2,000 in for an additional warranty?
Warranty.
3,000? How about we say 5,000 for a warranty?
It's like $30.
Well, I mean, you think it's gonna cost anything?
I can't imagine George fixes this, as much as I think he's pretty handy.
I know a guy.
I know a guy.
A lot of those extra expenses can be taken care of in the budget.
Thank you, sir.
So,
The motion was for 75,081?
75,081 is the motion that we approve.
Second.
75,081. Second, any other discussion on this? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's it.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second, third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we adjourn. Did you get all that, Michelle?
I did.
Okay.